Hello, 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 my friends. My name is Jill Osborne. I am the president and founder of the Interstitial Cystitis Network. It is March 24th. I thought I would come in and do a drop-in support group meeting, see how people are doing in these absolutely crazy ass times. So normally I do live support group meetings twice a month on the first and third Sunday of every month. But given the coronavirus and the fact that we're all quarantined and all this sort of stuff, you know what? I just thought, why not? Let's just drop in. I had gum in my mouth and see how everybody's doing. Hi, Denise. Hello, Barbara. Nice to see you. How is the sound now? Facebook just totally did weird things here. Facebook completely changed the way it looks. Hello, Danielle. Nice to see you. And so hold on. I don't know what the hell Facebook did here. Moderation is not set. Danielle can say hi, so that's good. Danielle, I'm doing this for the IC Network page, right? I didn't accidentally set it up on my page. Yeah, no. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. It's weird. Facebook has completely changed everything. Hi, Paige. Nice to see you. So it's like it's not showing me who's coming into the room. So weird. All right. Well, anyway, life happens. Hello, Elise. Hi, Iris. Hello, Grace. How are you? How y'all doing today? Come on now. It's crazy times we're in. Stressful? Stressful. I don't know about you, but man, I just cannot look at the internet right now. I do not want to go to CNN or MSNBC or any news channels. We already know it's terrible. We're just holding on. Everybody's staying at home, protecting themselves, taking care of yourselves, all that sort of good stuff, right? Yeah, surreal. It is surreal times. Hello, Christina. Hi, Deborah. Christina, how do you get an email response from me? You email me, icnetwork@mac.com. That's the way you get an email response from me. Hi, Jody. Nice to see you. So I don't know what the heck Facebook did here. This is so weird. Facebook has completely changed all the controls. I cannot see who's coming into the room. So I'm baffled. It wouldn't let me start the stream the way I normally start the stream. Danielle goes, crazy. I was just about to look at your previous videos for information. So my email address is, okay. Oh my God, I'm backwards. IC Network. Hold on. See, I just decided to do this spur of the moment, right? Spur of the moment. All right. ICNetwork@mac.com. Joy says, hi, Jill, I agree. I can't watch CNN right now. I'm having bladder pain today. Oh, girl, I'm so sorry. What do you think you're having bladder pain? Do you have any clue aside from stress? Hi, Donna. Nice to see you. Hope life is good. Donna, I sent you, you won something, and I sent that to you. I hope you got it. I don't remember what you won. And also, guys, on our meeting on Sunday, I had 2 people win heating pads, but they didn't send me their address. And so that was Carol Morgan on Facebook. Carol Morgan, I have a heating pad for you if you want it. I got a heating pad for you. And then Nikki on YouTube also won a heating pad on Sunday. And so Nikki, if you're around, guys, you can always reach me, icnetwork@mac.com. And I do my best to respond to everybody, but sometimes I'm just exhausted and I have to wait. And sometimes, like today, I had a very, very long coaching session with somebody who just wasn't quite picking up the concepts. I had to repeat myself quite a bit. So how y'all feeling? Donna says, I did get it. Thank you, sweetie. I love you. Oh, Donna, right back at you, girl. I love you too. I love every one of you. You know what? Come on. This is why I've got a sign that says love. Love. We are in this together, my friends. Facebook, what the hell have you done to my live stream? It's so weird. What did you do, Facebook? Okay, like there's an arrow. Facebook, I apologize. If I accidentally turn it off, I will turn it back on. Okay, there's an arrow I can push. I want to see what's going to happen. Stream, viewing, comments, setting. Okay, the viewing, people can rewind. Auto-generated captions. We can always try that. I don't know what the hell that would look like. Comments are fine. The stream is fine. All right. I don't know. So we've been trying to film. I've been trying to film some video for some new commercials that they want me to be in, and I have no one to help me because I can't let anybody into the house. And I need help. I need help with my hair and my makeup and the video setup and all that sort of stuff. And it's ridiculous. All right. Joyce says, I had a fulguration done on the 10th. Was getting over a bladder infection prior to that. I'm thinking my infection never cleared. Ooh, well, okay. So you had the fulguration 2 weeks ago. I would think that you would be pretty over that. Are you now having the same symptoms that you had before? Katie says, I'm thinking about trying hydroxyzine. Would you recommend? Well, the American Urology Association recommends hydroxyzine. Hydroxyzine has two beneficial effects. Number one, okay, guys, I'm sorry, but Facebook's driving me crazy right now. Everything is weird on it. Okay, maybe that's a little bit better. So what hydroxyzine does is hydroxyzine acts as an antihistamine in the bladder. So the hydroxyzine can control the release of histamines. One of the ways that we describe an injured bladder, now remember we have subtypes, right? So some people have muscle injury, some people have nerve injury, and yes, some people have bladder wall injury. We get that. If you happen to have bladder wall injury, one way to kind of think about it is that it's almost like having a whole bunch of mosquito bites at once in your bladder. Wherever there's a hole from an injury, from an infection, or from a chemical exposure, from chemotherapy. So wherever urine is able to get through the gag layer down into the tissue, it's going to cause mast cells to release histamine. Now, that's exactly what happens when you get a mosquito bite. So when a mosquito injects a venom into your arm, then the venom triggers mast cells to release histamine. And it's the histamines that cause the swelling, the redness, the itching, the pain. And so you have mast cells in your bladder wall. And using an antihistamine makes sense because it will help control some of that superficial, well, not superficial is the right word, just some of that mast cell-induced irritation in the bladder. So one really good beneficial effect of hydroxyzine is that it's an antihistamine. But another really good thing about hydroxyzine is that it has a very nice anti-anxiety side effect. And so it kind of gives you, it just tones down any anxiety you might be struggling with a bit. I took hydroxyzine for about 10 years. Absolutely loved it. Now, remember, my bladder pain was triggered by a chemical injury from a swimming pool, although I have other subtypes, right? And I've got some genetics involved. But what triggered my agonizing bladder pain for years, the first year was especially bad. I could barely walk the first year, was I was swimming in training in a swimming pool for a triathlon. And the pool that I was training in made a massive mistake with their chemicals, and I got massively burned. I had a chemical burn. My first diagnosis was chemical cystitis. And so the trauma to the tissues from the chemical injury was nothing short of astonishing. I mean, I was hamburger from my kidneys down from that chemical injury. And obviously, using something that has a nice anti-anxiety effect is very calming and soothing. And frankly, I needed it because I, like many of you, thought I was dying of cancer. I mean, I didn't believe them when they said, "Oh, Jill, you've got chemical cystitis." I'm like, "Oh, hell no, you've missed it. I must be dying of cancer. This pain is so severe." And they were like, no, no, you got chemocystitis. It's okay. And I'm like, I don't believe you. And I obsessed about it. And I just finally was bawling to my gynecologist about a year later and said, I don't get it. I think I have cancer. I think you've missed something. Would you please do an exploratory and look? And he kind of gave me the eye and he goes, really? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I don't believe you. I have to be dying with this level of pain. I mean, guys, I couldn't sleep. I could barely walk. I could barely sit. All I could do was pace. I couldn't lay down. Laying down, everything hurt. The only thing I could do was pace. And so he opened me up, did an exploratory, woke up in the recovery room. Jill, you have chemocystitis. You're not dying of cancer. And and that antihistamine really helped me with that. And that's very common for patients. Anytime you're confronted with pain, especially unexplained pain, yeah, it's scary, and you think about some bad things like cancer, but it's important that you know that there's absolutely no connection between IC and cancer at all. You don't need to worry about that. I know that now. I didn't know that then, but I do know that now. And so if you have any doubts at all, or if you were a smoker, or if you smoked a lot, or if you have a lot of blood in your urine, then you can ask for a urine cytology test. But it's very, very important for you to know that there's really no connection between IC and cancer at all. You can let that worry go. But again, if you're struggling with anxiety, then something like hydroxyzine would help you in two ways. It would reduce the histamines in your bladder, and it would give you a nice beneficial anti-anxiety effect. And I'm very, very grateful for it. The challenge with hydroxyzine is that it messes with your dreams. You get something called hydroxyzine dreams. It intensifies your dreams. So if you're having a happy dream, it becomes a joyful dream. If you're having a good sex dream, it becomes the best sex of your life. Oh my God, dream. If you're having a nightmare, it becomes a night terror. And that's usually why people end up stopping hydroxyzine eventually, is because it messes with your dreams. And it took years for it to mess with my dreams, but finally I did start getting night terrors from it. And with stopping it within a day, stopped all of the nightmares. So anyway, it's viable. It's also mentioned as a step 2 treatment option in the American Urology Association guidelines for IC. Katie says, does it make you sleepy all day? No, it doesn't, because you don't take it during the day. You take it at dinner time. When you take it at dinner time, you're giving it enough time to get into your bloodstream so that by the time you're ready to go to bed, there's enough in there to help you sleep. And the only thing is it makes it a little bit harder to wake up. It's like there's another layer of sleep you have to break through. But once you're up, you're fine. But if you take it during the day, yeah, it's going to make you sleepy. It can be a bit sedating. Joy says, I'm supposed to see the urology nurse practitioner on the 31st, but I'm sure like most docs, it will be canceled. I wonder, should I order some testing strips? Oh, well, you're going to have a phone consult. See if they'll do a phone consult for you. Why not? You have every right to ask for a phone consult as long as they're open. And maybe you can go over a few things with them. But the point of a testing strip is really just to see if you might have infection. And I support you having urine test strips. You should be able to order them off of Amazon. I don't know if we have them in our store. We used to. Let me look. The company that supplied them was very unpredictable, and we had trouble ordering them. But you can go to Walgreens, and they even have their own testing strips. Let me look here real quick. Let's see. I think we had to discontinue them. Yeah, we don't have them anymore. So just go to Walgreens or CVS and they should have them, or go to Amazon, AZO test strips. Just to Google urinary test strips. But all a test strip is going to do, I mean, the value of a test strip is really going to be in easing your mind in thinking that you have an infection. Because, the symptoms associated with IC, frequency, urgency, pressure, pain, we normally associate with infection. Lots of patients, myself included, especially in your first year or two, and until things calm down, you keep thinking that you're getting infection over and over and over again. And And at least a test strip will tell you that, no, it's really probably not an infection. You can have positive leukocytes with a flare. That's fine. If you got positive nitrites, you got an infection. Or nitrates. Is it nitrites or nitrates? I don't remember. All right. So again, guys, I'm sorry. On Facebook, I'm baffled. I don't quite understand. They changed everything on Facebook, and now I really can't see who's coming into the room. I don't know who's in there. I don't know anything. Like, what the hell did you do, guys? This is crazy. Yeah, we will get through this, Iris. We will. Absolutely. Donna, thank you for your compliment. I appreciate that. We are. Elise says, very stressful. I'm in quarantine. It's hard, but I listened to all the Harry Potter books in English. Nice. You were reading them in Norwegian? Oh my God, that's so cool. So my favorite books on tape, I listen to a ton of books on tape, and I listen to them on my iPad. And I have been going through all of the Jennifer Ashley Shifters Unlimited books. I love shifter books, werewolves and foxes and stuff like that. And I also love the Black Dagger Brotherhood by J.R. Ward. Those are very gritty vampire books. And the Harry Potter books on tape are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So if you want to get away from anything, this from the news or anything, just put on a book. That's what I do when I'm making my face mask, because I'm still making face masks in my living room is torn up with my sewing machine, all these fabric squares. So let's see, what do I have here? Audible. So right now I'm listening to Guardian's Mate. I love G.L. Carriger. I like her werewolf books. Jennifer Ashley, Annie Nicholas Dragon books. Here's Harry Potter, the Sorcerer's Stone. Anne McCaffrey, a lot of good Anne McCaffrey books too. Nora Roberts, J.R. Ward. Yeah. Joel Osteen, I like Joel Osteen's books too. Okay, I'm baffled. I'm just baffled. I have no idea if anybody's saying anything on Facebook. I'm sorry, guys. I do not understand what's happening. If you're saying something on Facebook, I literally cannot see it. I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do. What did they do? Molly says okay, it's working. Molly says she reads history books. All right. I don't know. I need something that's so completely different from medicine and health and IC. I got to go for the big time fantasy books. Hello, Connie. It's nice to see you. We're just doing a little drop-in support group meeting, hanging out, seeing how people are doing. Iris says, I'm Hunter's IC and just found out you've got Lyme. Okay, so like Iris, it's huge. That's huge, because we know that the Lyme bacteria is often found in the bladder wall of Lyme patients who have bladder symptoms. And I have a section on our website that talks about Lyme disease, and I would encourage you to go on over and take a look at it. Yeah. No, I did a big story on it. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Look at all these books. Ooh, look at that. That's our proclamation for IC Awareness Month. That was hard to get, let me tell you. All right. So I always try to keep back issues of the IC Optimist magazine that I can show. So these are all the back issues that I have. So let's see. It's not fall 2014. Not spring. Where is it? Our diet one, if y'all haven't seen that before. Look at all these journal articles thrown in here. What the heck? Oh, it's a whole section on, okay. Where is it? Hopefully y'all have our flare management guide, which is free if you special report on pain management, although it's pretty outdated now. We need to redo it. Also, this is free on our website, a medical records kit where you can literally track, all of your tests and your doctor's appointments, your treatments, treatment history. This is really, really helpful. And this is free on our website in our free download area. So if you go on over to icnetwork.org, you can do that. Hello, Brenda. Nice to see you, hon. Where's my Lyme disease one? Am I giving it away? Oh. Well, it's on our website too. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is a book that I wrote years ago called My Mom Has IC, A Painful Bladder Story. And this was generated, inspired by a young mom who was struggling with IC, and she was hiding it from her 5-year-old daughter. So her daughter knew she was in pain, knew she was going to the doctor, but the mom wasn't telling her anything. And one day her daughter just burst into tears and said, "Mommy, please don't die. Please don't die." She thought her mom was dying. And her mom was stunned and was just heartbroken. And she said, "No, honey, I'm not dying at all. It's just my bladder." And she had to kind of explain it. And so, hi, Marion. And so what I did is we did a little children's book explaining what IC is. So it's called My Mom Has IC, A Painful Bladder Story. And it would be nice if I did a one for My Dad Has Prostatitis or IC. It should be my mom or dad has pelvic pain. That's what it should be now. I've got a letter to parents. Children don't understand most illnesses, and we as parents often hide our struggles from them. Yet no matter how hard we try, most children sense that something isn't right. They can see that their mom or dad isn't feeling well. They notice frequent trips to the bathroom and whispered conversations behind closed doors. They become confused when their normal daily routine is changed for doctor's appointments or treatments. It's normal for children to become frightened if a parent is emotional or crying. They may even become angry when mom or dad can't take them to the park or a ball game. Some children might worry unnecessarily that their parent is dying. Children need guidance, encouragement, and support during this stressful time. In this book, Jan, the 10-year-old daughter of an IC patient, explains what IC is and offers an easy lesson in bladder physiology. In The Great Bathroom Hunt, she shared some funny stories about her mom's quest to find the best bathrooms in town. Jan explains that her mom has a different diet and can't eat some of her favorite foods like chocolate or pizza. She also talks about doctors and how they help. Jan explains that her mom needs some help and shares her list of daily chores, and she also includes her top 10 list of fun activities that she can do at home when mom isn't feeling well. At the end of the book, you'll find the Great Word Hunt and a resource for websites of fun activities that can be printed out for quiet time at home. I hope Jan's story will inspire many happy and productive conversations with your children, and I encourage you to talk about IC with each child individually. Give them the opportunity to ask questions and provide firm guidelines on what they can and can't do if mom or dad isn't feeling well. Teach them to ask for help from you and a medical professional if they aren't feeling well. And remind them that illness doesn't change your love for each other. Yes, there will be moments of frustration and stress, but with great communication and a healthy dose of laughter, your children will not only survive but thrive after your diagnosis of IC. And most of all, please encourage your children to make friends with children at school who are ill and or have disabilities. They can become an ambassador for these children who are often desperately lonely. Let's break that isolation and show everyone that there is no shame in being ill or disabled. Hey man, I was on when I wrote that. So let me show this to you a little bit. So I hired an illustrator for the book, and she was great. So the color, the cover is color, but the things on the inside are not, because ultimately it's kind of a coloring book, and I was kind of hoping the kids would color it, right? So let's see here. So here's the first page. My name is Jan, and my mom has IC. Isn't that cute? IC stands for two really big words. The first big word is interstitial. Inter, like intersections, like stitch, and shawl, like a shawl. Say it out loud. Interstitial. I should put this as a book on tape. I would love to dictate it. And the second big word is cystitis. Cis for sisters, tie for tie, and tis for tissue. Cystitis. Now say them all together. Interstitial cystitis. And then meet my mom. My mom is wonderful. She works as a teacher. My dad is a pilot. I have a brother, two sisters, and a lot of pets. We have a dog, two cats, and a rabbit too. My mom hasn't been feeling well because she has IC. On bad days, she has to stay close to the bathroom. Sometimes she can't sleep or go to work because her bladder is bothering her. Do you know what a bladder is? Okay, since we have at least one child watching, I'm going to keep going. Okay, bladder basics. Everyone has a urinary tract. It contains a bladder and two kidneys. You and me and my cats too. Can you find them in this picture? Here's a big clue. The kidneys are shaped like a bean. So what do the kidneys do? They make urine from extra water that our body doesn't need. It then slides down a small tube, the ureter, to the bladder. So what does a bladder do? It holds urine until we empty our bladder by going to the bathroom. Do you know what the word urinate means? When we urinate, we empty our bladder into a toilet. Some people call it peeing or voiding or going number one. What do you call it? Everyone has to urinate. It's normal and natural. With my IC, my mom's bladder can't hold as much urine as it used to. On bad days, she has to go to the bathroom frequently or very urgently. When she has to go, she really has to go. And sometimes it hurts if she tries to hold it too long. This is my favorite part, the great bathroom hunt. We've all been here. My mom is always looking for bathrooms at gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, and the library. I think she has every bathroom in town memorized. It's very important that she find a bathroom. We help her hunt too. You can find more bathrooms in hospitals, coffee shops, parks, and schools. She even went bald bush. Luckily, she carries tissues in her purse that she could use. They came in very handy that day, and we still laugh about it. It's a funny family story. Do you know any funny stories? So, how my mom helps her IC. Well, number one, she watches what she drinks. She doesn't drink any coffee or tea or lemonade or orange juice or even soda because they irritate her bladder. She drinks water or milk instead. Doesn't water taste great on a hot day? I like drinking milk too. Do you? She also watches what she eats. My mom doesn't eat tomato soup or pizza or spaghetti or lemons or oranges or grapefruits because they are acidic. She can't eat chocolate either, but she really likes vanilla ice cream because it doesn't hurt her bladder. I like vanilla too. Yum. Number 3. How does she help herself? She learns about IC and the bladder. My mom reads about IC in books on her computer and the World Wide Web. She says it's like going to bladder school. She learns about treatments and diet and other things she can do to help her bladder. And she goes to a support group. When my mom is having a bad day, it helps her to talk about it. She's made some new friends by joining an IC support group at a local hospital. She even goes to IC support chats on the IC Network website. We're doing that right now, right? My mom said that there are millions of IC patients in the world, and for every patient who sees a doctor, many don't. They don't know that IC can be treated. They don't know that changing their diet can help. That's sad. It's important to go to the doctor if you don't feel well. Doctors are important. Our family doctor is Dr. Bill, and he's great. He went to medical school to learn about legs and arms and feet and toes and tummies and noses and even bladders. I like doctors because they try to help us feel better when we're sick. Did you know that an animal doctor is called a veterinarian? That's a big word too. Can you say it? Try sounding it out. Vet in air en veterinarian. My mom also sees a urologist. Urologist. That's not the best. Okay. Dr. Kim is very nice. She helps patients with bladder and kidney problems. She showed me how the bladder stretches as it fills up with urine, just like a balloon. Wow. Dr. Kim explained that my urine should be clear and pale yellow. If it's dark yellow, that means I haven't drunk enough water that day and I should drink some more. Dr. Kim asked me to tell my mom if it ever hurts when I pee. Peeing shouldn't hurt at all. If it does hurt, I might have a bladder infection. Ow. Dr. Kim gave my mother some medication to help her feel better. Sometimes it makes her sleepy. Caution. Did you know that medication should never be shared? They can be very dangerous if used by the wrong person. Children should never take adult medication. Always ask your mom or dad first. My brothers and sisters and I never play or touch her medicine. Yeah, I think you guys will like this section. I'll keep going and then Joy will come back to that. Every mom needs, even moms need help. My mom needs extra help. Her IC makes it extra hard to do some things around the house. So we all help out, even my baby sister. In the morning, we change out of our PJs and into our clothes and shoes. We brush our teeth and comb our hair. We make our beds. We feed our pets before we eat breakfast. Why? Because they depend on us for food. If they eat before we do, we don't ever forget to feed them. We make sure that our pets have clean water for the day. And after breakfast, we put our dishes in the sink. In the evening, we feed our dog, rabbit, and cats again. My brother takes out the trash every night because he's big. I clean the litter box. My sister cleans a rabbit cage. My dad walks the dog. We put our dishes in the sink or dishwasher. We put our toys in the toy box. We put our dirty clothes in the laundry hamper. We tidy our bedrooms. Really, it's hard to have friends over if our bedrooms are messy. And we change into our PJs, brush our teeth, and pick out a story to read. The rule in our house is if you make a mess, clean it up. Do you help your mom? Why don't you ask her what you can do around the house to help? Make a list and put it on your refrigerator. My dad helps us to clean the house too. He loves to read us stories. He helps with our homework. He makes great hot dogs. He gives my mom lots of hugs and takes her to the doctor too. I also brush my cats, Sammy and Shutza. They like it so much, they purr really loudly. They are very silly cats. And that's true. I had Sammy and Shutza. Okay, fun activities. I really like going to the park with my mom. We walk and talk about a lot of things. It's our special time with each other. But sometimes she can't walk far because of her IC, and that's okay. We find fun things to do at home. I know that if she rests, she will feel better. If my mom is sleeping, I try to be as quiet as a mouse. I like to draw or paint pictures. Do you like to draw? Just find a pencil and a piece of paper. Try drawing a dog. Our dog is named Ruby, and she's very funny. She loves to play fetch with a ball. And here are 10 quiet time things that you can do. There's so many fun things that you can do at home. Here are some of my favorite things to do. Number one, read. I love to read books. My brother likes to read books about pirates. I like to read books about animals. Reading is very relaxing. Books can be very funny and make me laugh out loud. And when I'm feeling sad, books help me feel better. Did you know you can borrow books from your library? It's easy. Ask your dad to take you to the library and sign up for a library card. After that, you can check out books about bugs and heroes and dragons and trucks and cats and even wizards. Have you ever listened to a book on tape or CD? It's fun to listen to a book that's being read out loud. Number three, imagination power. Did you know that you can write stories too? All it takes is a pencil and piece of paper. Here are some funny stories and ideas. A girl that loves horses and wants to be a cowboy. A boy who wants to be a pirate and always says, "Arg." A mouse that wants to drive a car. A bicycle that wants to become a motorcycle. A princess who is also a frog. Only you and your imagination can tell funny stories. What are their names? What do they want? Why do they want to be different? Try making up a story and writing it down. You can read your stories to your mom. Let's see, almost done. We talk about games and puzzles. Do you play games? I love playing games with my brother. We like to play Monopoly and checkers and even card games. There are some games that you can play alone too, like solitaire. Ask your mom and dad to teach you how. And don't you just love jigsaw puzzles? The great thing about jigsaw puzzles is you can do them all by yourself. It might take a few days to finish a puzzle, but it sure feels good when you do. Then we go over some crafts, and then the last one, a random act of kindness is something you can do for someone else without being asked to do it. You did it because you were being kind and generous. You can help your brother or your sister clean their room. You can help your grandmother bake a cake. You can help your sister wash the dog. You could send a card to a friend who is sad. Helping someone is one of the most important things that we can do. How many people were you kind to today? What did you do for them? And last but not least, hugs make everyone happy. One day I finally told my mom I was scared that she wouldn't get better. My mom gave me a big hug and told me that I didn't need to worry anymore. She said that she and Dr. Bill and Dr. Kim are working hard so that she can get better. That made me feel much better too. Have you said I love you to your mom or dad today? No? Go do it right now. They need lots of love every day too. Being a mom or dad is hard work. And don't forget your sisters and brothers and pets too. Thank you for reading my story, and I hope that your mom or dad feels better soon. If you have any questions about IC, ask your mom. She doesn't want you to worry. She wants you to be very, very happy. The end. And we have the big word hunt where they have to find words in the book. And a lot of references that are now outdated. And a little bit more about IC. But anyway, this is, we did this like 13, 14 years ago, but it still works, my friend. So if you've got a young parent at home, go for it. This is available right on our website. And on Amazon too. We've been selling it on Amazon for years. Thank you, Elise. Elise goes, this is a great book. Joyce says, one of my cats had struvite bladder stones. He almost died. When the vet did the surgery, he found out that my cat had a totally bloody bladder with no lining. He's on Adequan glucosamine injections every week. It's supposed to help feline IC. So the struvite bladder stones, bladder stones are very sharp. They hurt like hell. If you were to have a catheter Amazon has one seller for my book at $45. What? Okay, I'll go look at that in a second. Let's get back to the stones. The problem with kidney stones and bladder stones is that they are sharp as a knife and they have a lot of sharp edges. And so if you've got a bladder stone floating around in your urine, it's going to cut the hell out of your bladder wall. And so, Joy, that's probably what was going on. You got a bloody bladder because he had bladder stones in there. I don't think I've ever heard. I mean, the guy who did the feline IC research, Dr. Tony Buffington at Ohio State University, he was, he and I talked several times. He appeared in our guest lecture series. He never shared with me that cats with IC lost their bladder lining. What he was able to determine was that for many feline IC patients, diet was huge and stress was huge. That he could take a cat with the most severe IC and cure them. And in many cases, the way that he cured them is he put them into a warm, quiet, safe place for 6 weeks. And able to do with these cats is they would measure what were they measuring? I mean, we could dig it out in the research. They would monitor certain blood levels every time a stranger came into the room, and they could see that the cats got incredibly stressed. Here, hold on a second. I don't know if I can grab this. IC Network, this is Jill. Weird. It said, I'm sorry, your entry is incorrect. Whatever that was. I have no idea what that was all about. So anyway, at least with the feline, I mean, there are really only 2 animal models for IC. One are felines with quote unquote interstitial cystitis. And then there was a colony of monkeys in New Zealand that also appeared to have IC. And I don't know what happened to those. I haven't read anything about them in 15, 17 years. In research studies, they do a lot of research on animals, which is absolutely disgraceful what they do. It drives me crazy. What they will do is basically insert a caustic solution into a live animal's bladder to try to damage the bladder and then use that to replicate IC. And it's so sad because it's not even close to replicating real IC. It's not. And the cruelty that happens with those research studies is nothing short of astonishing, in my opinion. Remember, that's why I gave up my career in pharmacology, was over animal research. Suzanne says, thank you, Jill, for being here. Sometimes I feel a bit forgotten, but I do have a supportive husband and family. I am blessed. We are, for those, and it is time that we are going through. I mean, if there's a gift in this situation that we are all in right now, it is that we are all understanding that it is family and friends that are the great joys in our lives. And to have lost so much time to the cancel culture and the tremendous disagreements between Republicans and Democrats, and just the general level of fighting that the internet has introduced to our culture has damaged the fabric of society. And we've all got lost in this, instead of in face-to-face communication. But now we have no choice. We're back again. And again, I've got a 97 and a 91-year-old, and they need that one-on-one talking and talking as a family and comforting. Everybody needs comforting right now. Grace, let me just take a look at that Amazon listing. You're saying that there is somebody on Amazon selling my book for $45? What the hell? Hold on. You can buy it on the IC Network store. hold on. My mom has, I see, a painful bladder story. Let's see here. Somebody's selling it used. Okay, I will make a note of my staff to make sure that we get it back up in Amazon. That's crazy. Um, anybody can sell anything on Amazon. You can't really stop them. So how Amazon has conquered the world. Hold on a sec. Let's see here. So it's in my store on the IC network for $12.50. So you can buy this little book for $12.50 in the IC network store, and I will make sure that we get it back on Amazon so nobody's conned by that. That's really sad. Oh, Donna says we may need to do a coloring book for adults, volume 2. I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I had a wonderful teacher. Her name was Marge Truzolino. She's since passed the Rainbow Bridge, across the Rainbow Bridge. But Marge helped me with that book. She was a 3rd grade teacher, so I wanted to make sure that we got it down to the right level. She was a sweetie pie. Joy says, it's unbelievable how many ICers do not have a good support system or family members don't believe their pain is real. I'm so happy. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I read that before. Sorry. You guys on Facebook, I got to tell you, they changed the interface. I literally cannot see what's happening in Facebook. All I can see is my face and occasional questions. I have no idea how many people are in there. I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing. I wonder if I can, just out of curiosity. Hold on. Let's see. We got to do all new graphics. Our graphics are old. Is it even showing up? Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's still limiting me. All right. Okay. Hello, Catherine says, hi. Hello, Catherine. I'm self-isolating in Canada because I flew back from Arizona 10 days ago. Good for you. You got it, you guys. Seriously. I mean, if you're watching what's happening in Europe right now, and especially in Italy and Spain, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating. I don't even want to talk about it. It's so tragic. And self-isolating is absolutely the way to go. And, I heard that people are talking about trying to get people back to work in 2 weeks. I can promise you that's foolish. That is foolish. They were finding the coronavirus on the cruise ship 17 days after people left. And there's a lag time between the time you first have symptoms versus 14 days later is when the really bad symptoms hit, and you end up some people end up in the hospital. And so just waiting 14 days or 3 weeks with home isolation is not enough, in my opinion. I fully intend to probably be self-isolating for 3 months. Probably. I'll bet that's what it's going to be. We'll see. We'll see. The next week or two is gonna really give us more information. Any other questions about IC, my friends? What are you doing to pass the time? What are you doing to get through the day? For example, okay, now, man, I was down on my hands and knees I was on my back doing my dead bugs for my core. I was doing my physical therapy today. Have y'all done your stretches yet for the day? Remember, it's not just what the doctor does for you, the physical therapist does for you, it's what you do at home. Your ability to do stuff at home is ultimately going to determine your success. You cannot be passive in this situation. You must be active. There are so many things that you can do at home that will help. So many things. Hmm. Facebook, you're crazy. Donna says, I agree. I'm crafting, crochet, and paper crafts. That sounds good. I'll go get what I'm making. Catherine says, I see support page for Canada started a couple weeks ago, so you're making new friends. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Here, hold on. I'll be right back. Donna says, had PT, physical therapy. Oh, hey, so you saw a physical therapist today. They didn't cancel it, huh? So you're so. So I am for my on my front porch. I've got gloves for him to take and face masks. And so I have been making face masks, and I just got into my pink fabric. Woohoo! How you like that? Got some greens now. Got my blues and my creams. I'm making like 5 a day right now. I should be making more. I've got some really cute other fabrics here. These are leftovers from baby quilts that I made, owls, and I really like the pinks. So I got more pinks. And for the boys, I'm doing navy blue. Well, for girls too. If you want navy blue, you can have navy blue. Danielle says you tried the therapy from YouTube and you were bedbound for 3 days, never felt pain like that before. Well, all right. So, Danielle, and I'm not laughing at your situation at all because we've all done it. When I went to my physical therapist, when I first had my first pelvic floor assessment years ago, this is why I'm laughing, is she told me, she said, now listen, Jill, you have to go really slowly with the pelvic floor. If you double or triple what I tell you to do, you're going to hurt like nobody's business. And she looked me in the eye. She said, I'm telling you to do 10. They were quick flicks at the time. Hold it for 5 seconds. Do not do 20. Do not do 30. Do not hold it for 10. Do not hold it for longer. Do exactly what I tell you to do. You have to go slow with these muscles. Man, she read me like a book. Danielle, you know what I did? I went home and tripled everything. And just like you, I had 3 days of agony. Like, holy hell, she was right. The problem is you cannot just go to YouTube and pick a random video and do it because your pelvic floor is very complex. You got muscles that go from left to right, from front to side. There's a bunch of muscles in there. And the challenge here is that you're guessing. You don't know which muscle is the problem. It could be your levator ani along the base, or it could be a piriformis muscle or obturator muscles along the sides, right? And if you have a normal levator, but a messed up piriformis, and you do the wrong muscle, you're going to hurt like hell and be in bed. And so you can't just go onto YouTube and start doing stuff and think that that's going to help, because what that's missing is the diagnosis. At least once you've got to go to a pelvic floor physical therapist and let them do an examination so that they can tell you which muscle is messed up. Because if you're having rectal pain, it might be the back portion of your levator ani. Your levator ani is actually 4 or 5 different muscles. If you're having pain on the inside of your hip bones, then it's going to be your piriformis or your obturator. If you're having pain in your lower back, it's going to be maybe your psoas. If you're having pain down by your urethra, it's going to be your urethral diaphragm. And you can't figure out the right exercises to do until you know which muscle is screwed up. And you'll never guess it on your own. You'll never guess it on your own. You, at least once, you have to let somebody touch your body and look and study your body and study your anatomy. The only way you might be able to get around that is if I might give you a pass on that if you read this book, because this book is a masterclass in anatomy. And this book will help you understand what you did that hurt you so badly. Yeah, so Danielle says the hospital told you what to do, but never told you what the muscle was. So, what were they trying to accomplish with that? What was the hospital trying to accomplish with that video? I mean, did they tell you that your muscles were loose and you need to tighten things up? Or what? What was their rationale for recommending that? Or why did they recommend the video to you, Danielle? Hello, Annie from New Mexico. I am a high-risk person staying home, had an appointment with a new doctor in Santa Fe, but decided I shouldn't risk going. Pain and frequency getting worse. You need guidance. All right. So Annie, if you can just hold on, we're waiting for Danielle to ask, why did they refer you to that video in the first place? I would love for you to actually send me the video. If you send me a link to the video, I'd love to see it. That would be fascinating. Guys, if you ever need to get a hold of me, my email address is icnetwork@mac.com. icnetwork@M as in Mary, A as in Apple, C as in Charlie.com. All right, so Annie, let's see if we can help you. Okay, and just know I might stop because Danielle might answer too. Okay, well, hold on. Danielle said they didn't know only that you had IC, but they can't figure you. What? Oh my God. Okay, they didn't know that you only had IC, but they cannot figure you out. Oh, so they're guessing. So everybody's just guessing here. So I mean, there's kind of good news here. I mean, the good news is that you touched a muscle and it hurt. That's actually good news, because now we know that at least your problem is muscular. So, I always tell patients, do not be afraid of having that pelvic floor evaluation, because if they can literally touch a muscle and trigger your pain, it's like, hallelujah, baby, we found it. They found it. That is spectacular news. They found it. So you de facto found that your muscles are triggering the pain, because when you work the muscles, it made it that much worse. And so that, to me, I think what you need to do is you need to call that doctor back or the hospital back and say, okay, man, I did it and you just killed me. It hurt like hell. I could barely get out of bed for 3 days. Clearly my muscles are involved. Can you please refer me to a pelvic floor physical therapist so I can have a proper evaluation and assessment of my muscles, because this was too much for me and it hurt a lot, but I absolutely believe my muscles are part of the problem. And so let's take it a step further and actually go see an expert. And in the meantime, Danielle, again, listen, girl, get this book, read it. Learn it. I'm telling you right now, seriously, you're gonna hear me raving about this book for a decade. It took him 15 years to write this book. This is a stunningly good book, and it is a masterclass in pelvic anatomy. If you read this book, you read through the first 4 chapters in this book, you will know more than your doctor about your muscles down there and how they interrelate with each other and how they can trigger bladder symptoms and vulvar symptoms and stuff like that. So please, 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 everybody, it's free on Kindle Unlimited. It's free. And if you just have regular Kindle, it's $9, $9.99. If you want the paper version like I do, because man, I mark stuff up, I highlight areas and all sorts of, you can see all the notes. This is my copy, right? Look at all these areas I highlighted. So I prefer having a book in my hand that I can refer. You can get this on Amazon for $36. You can get it on the IC Network for $29. If you're going to get it, only get this book and do anything else in a separate order, because you can get it media mailed to you for like $3.50, right? Somewhere in there. Whereas if it's priority mail combined with something else, your shipping is going to go way, way up, like $15. So just get it media mail. Sarah says, I'm scared and confused as to whether you're high risk. I'm just stopping in, which is pretty much what I do most of the time. All right. So Sarah, so a lot of people have asked, does interstitial cystitis make you high risk and vulnerable for the coronavirus? And the answer is, I don't think so. I mean, you could talk to your doctor, but the bladder function and lung function are completely disconnected. The only thing I think that would make you high risk is if you have some other autoimmune conditions like Lyme disease, for somebody who said they had Lyme disease earlier, or Sjogren's, or something in lupus, where you have other autoimmune things going on. Again, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice in any way, shape, or form. I think in this circumstance, every single one of us, we all have to self-isolate. It's just 6 months ago, none of us could have fathomed what we are facing today. Amy Klobuchar, the candidate for president, her husband is on a ventilator right now. He has the coronavirus, and so it's so sudden and it's so shocking and it's so scary. But when you understand viral infections, the secret and the key is exposure. And so all those pictures of those kids, those families at the parks, we had a story in our paper about families who decided they didn't want to be homebound. So the whole family went to Walmart and the kids touched everything. And so Walmart was filled with families and children just socializing. It's like, dudes, seriously. This is about staying away from people. So please, please, please just stay away from people. Okay, I want to go back to Annie. Annie, are you still here, Annie? If you're here, let's see what we can do to help you. So Annie said, she's from New Mexico. She's a high-risk person, so you're staying home. Power to you. I'm staying home too. Had an appointment with a new doctor in Santa Fe, but you canceled it because you didn't think you should going. So Annie, number one, can you at least can you switch it over to a phone consult? They should be willing to do a phone consult. That, or telemedicine or video medicine. That's pretty much what all the doctors here in California are doing. Is for appointments like that, they're just going straight down to video. So I would call them back and see if you can do a phone consult with the doctor. But let's talk about how to approach that. Okay. I always tell patients, especially if you're getting a second opinion, to please not start the conversation with, I have IC. That is not helpful, because you will drop down the rabbit hole of their beliefs on what IC is. And that's not useful right now. What you need is you need a second look and understanding at your symptoms. You need a second opinion. You are an anatomical mystery to be solved. Your goal is to get them to study your body. Now, if you're not going to be there in person, that doesn't mean they still cannot study your body based upon what you tell them. And so I want you, number one, to make a really clear list of your symptoms. Um, uh, what's your dominant problem? Frequency. If you have frequency, how often are you peeing? Can you sleep through the night? How often are you getting up at night? Are you having Does your pain get worse as your bladder fills with urine? Does it feel better when you empty your bladder, or does it feel worse after you've emptied your bladder? Those are important pieces of this puzzle. Are there any weird, unusual symptoms like, do you feel a vibration like you're sitting on a cell phone? Do you feel a fluttering sensation? Does the pain get worse when you sit down? Does the pain get better when you stand up? Does the pain get worse when you bend over? Do you ever notice rectal pain? Do you ever notice clitoral pain? Do you ever notice vaginal pain? Do you ever have pain that shoots down one leg or the other? Or do you have pain in your lower back? I find that the devil is in the details here. That it's often the little tiny symptom that you think is nothing that actually solves the problem. Again, pain with intimacy. If you dread having sex because you know it's going to hurt, do you dread going to a gynecologist because you know when they put a speculum in, it's going to hurt? Um, is the pain in one location? Is it to the left? Is it to the right? Is it in the center? Is it, can you touch it? Or is it deep inside of your body? What makes it worse? Uh, Sitting, driving, stress, food. What makes it better? Heat, cold, laying down, standing up. Here, hold on, that's my computer. The second thing I want you to do, Annie, now this is, again, you are an anatomical mystery to be solved. And it was so interesting. The patient I was working with earlier today, so let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a little bit older and she's having extreme vulvodynia along with her IC. And her doctor had given her estrogen because she was, quote, very, very dry. And so that makes sense. Menopause makes you dry. But it wasn't touching the vulvodynia. And she was dealing with what we call allodynia, where all the nerves in her pelvis and on her skin specifically had become very sensitive. She couldn't wear pants. She couldn't wear leggings. So she couldn't wear jeans because of the big seam in the jeans. She couldn't wear leggings because the seams of the leggings irritated her. She couldn't do any pressure on her pelvis. And, what we would just call classic vulvodynia. I mean, this is something we see with vulvodynia. Vulvodynia means you've got pain on your vulva. It feels like a yeast infection, but there's no yeast found. And it was just driving her absolutely crazy. And so I asked her, I said, okay, let's go back in time. She was in her 70s. When did this start for you? And she said about 30, 36, 37 years old. It's like, okay, that's important. And then I said, I explained how muscles are often at the root of bladder symptoms and vulvar symptoms. She really didn't understand. And I said, so for example, we see this in bicycle riders. And she goes, oh, I love riding my bike. I've ridden my bike for decades. And I know it hurts, but I ride anyway. I mean, she didn't say it exactly like that, but she could definitely tell that there was an effect. And then she was a horseback rider when she was younger, and I was a horseback rider when I was younger. We had a horse. My sister had a horse. I was the barn girl. Um, and um, and I said, "Well, surely you fell off your horse a couple times, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I went, "So did I." And then um, and I went, and you love bike riding, right? And did you ever have any bike accidents? She goes, "Yeah." And then I went, "Now, did you have children in your 20s?" She goes, "Yeah, had 2 children." And I said, what we consistently see in a big group of patients is recurring pelvic trauma. That there is generally an initial onset that can be associated in some cases with an event, falling off a horse. If Sue were in here, she could tell you her story of falling off a horse badly. Um, and so in her case, she had really all of the hallmarks of recurring pelvic floor trauma, multiple traumas over time. And so here we're talking and we're talking. It's like, okay, well, this is kind of supporting at least my suggestion that you could have some muscle and nerve problems going on. And she was describing all of the skin sensitivity that she has. And again, in this book, he talks about how he assesses for nerve injury by studying the skin and looking at skin sensitivity. So she like literally was describing the skin hallmark symptoms that he looked for to see nerve damage from tight muscles. And then, we're 45 minutes into our conversation and she goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, I fell really bad 5 years ago." And her symptoms, her bladder symptoms started really bad 5 years ago. It's like, aha. So Annie, getting back to you, I want you to go back in time and I really want you to think about things that were happening back then. Another thing that Dr. Weiss talks about is muscle resilience. That when you're young, you can take muscle trauma, and because your body is so incredibly young, it's pretty good at covering the injury or bouncing back from the injury. But that he says usually by the time you're in your mid 30s, that's when you start seeing the toll of wear and tear injuries. So for people who were athletes like I was, that you don't necessarily feel and understand the stress and strain that your body's under until you're in your 30s. And that's when you start seeing the wear and tear injury. Hey, can you hold on one sec? I got somebody playing the piano and I got to ask them to stop. Give me one moment. Hold on for another 45 minutes. We'll be done. Thank you, Daddy-O. I appreciate it. Yeah, drink some water. Here, hold on. I'll have my herbal tea. It's a little cold here. Sarah Lou Betty says, I'm scared and confused as to whether I'm high risk just stopping in, which is most, yeah, right. Okay. Annie, still here. Okay. Maria says, does vitamin K affect us negatively? Not that I know of, but again, everybody's very different, right? Everybody's very different. And so you won't really know until you try it. I don't think so. The only vitamins that are problems for us is usually vitamin C from ascorbic acid or B6 from ascorbic acid. I mean, B6, not from ascorbic acid. I don't have any information that suggests that vitamin K would affect us negatively. It would be more likely be a filler in the vitamin that would potentially bother you, in my opinion. But again, I'm not a doctor. You can ask your doctor. All right. So Annie, what did you think about what I said for you? Now, if we can go back in time and reconstruct your history, what would we find? And that's true for all of you. That's true for all of you. You go back, really think about it right now. Go back in time, and can you remember any interesting things that might have happened, any traumas that might have happened? And as Dr. Weiss says in the book, in many cases, patients just forget it. They forget that they were ever hurt. You're not going to remember when you fell on your tailbone when you were 17 years old, goofing off with your friends when you're 50. But that fall on your tailbone actually could have set the foundation for long-term pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. Catherine says, do you know what percentage of IC patients have pelvic floor dysfunction? Is it most of us? Yeah, absolutely is most of us, because you cannot have bladder pain and not have muscle tension from that bladder pain. That is a guarding reflex. That is entirely subconscious. There's no way for you to stop that from happening. There's no way for you to stop that from happening. So I always explain this as the chicken versus the egg dilemma. Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? And for us, it's which comes first, the bladder or the pelvic floor? The reality is that they're both probably involved to some degree. Your job is to figure out which is primary and which is secondary. So for many patients, IC begins after a fall, having a baby, a rape, a history of athletics, sexual abuse, something that has involved pelvic floor muscle trauma, and then through something we call the somatovisceral reflex, that muscle trauma can lead to a breakdown of the bladder wall. But for other patients, IC begins, like chemotherapy patients, IC begins with a direct bladder wall injury, like for me with the pool chemicals. And because the bladder wall is injured and damaged and the bladder screaming, the muscles get tight in a guarding reflex. So the therapeutic priority for the chemo patient is to calm and soothe the bladder wall, drink plenty of water, create an environment that will support bladder wall healing. The therapeutic priority for the pelvic floor injury patient is to restore blood flow. And while those muscles are tight and injured, they are restricting blood flow to the bladder. They're damaging nerves that are supporting the bladder and influencing the bladder. And so our priority for that group of patients is very, very different. Our priority for that group of patients is to restore blood flow. How do we do that? By restoring muscle health. We got to get rid of any and all trigger points, and we got to get those muscles healthy again. So for that group of patients, and that's the thing is, if you're an IC patient, you're diagnosed with IC, they're putting you on bladder therapies and you never get better, or if your bladder looks normal, then that tells us to look beyond the bladder. It's time to look at the muscles. It's time to look at other things. It's time to look at, could you have fibroid tumors? Could you have endometriosis? Could you have Tarlov cysts coming off of your spinal cord? Could you have black mold in your house, which can cause urinary frequency urgency? I have a whole section on our website over at icnetwork.org. Again, icnetwork.org, on confusable conditions. And you've really got to go one layer at a time, one condition at a time, and start ruling stuff out. Because you never know. Again, the devil's in the details. Hold on a sec. You're going to hear me, but you're not going to hear them. IC Network, this is Jill. Okay. 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 No, that's your pelvic floor. So I'm doing a live support group meeting right now, so nobody can hear you. Would you mind if I repeated your question to the people that are watching? Yeah, on Facebook. Okay, so she just called with a question, which ironically we were just kind of talking about. So her question is that she feels a poking sensation on the left side of her pelvis. Is this her bladder? And my answer is no, it's your pelvic floor. Anytime you've got symptoms to the left or to the right rather than the center, that points directly to your pelvic floor. So you've got to either go back to the physical therapist if you're already working with a physical therapist, or do your internal work if you know how to do that, to try to get that muscle to relax. Okay? Okay, hon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. There you go. Y'all just witnessed the IC Network Patient Support phone line. Can't answer it all day, but I do answer it. Elise says, in addition to books, there are so many podcasts on different. Oh, you know what? I've been listening to Oprah's podcasts, and something with, who was that? God, it was really good. Like Michelle. Anyway, we'll try to put them out. You guys, we have to make sure we need to help. Maria says, does sex help or make it better? And the answer is yes and no. I mean, if your muscles are super, super tight, then having sex is going to hurt because, think about it, that when you, if your muscles are super tight like this, it's going to be really hard to get a penis in there. It's going to be really hard to get something in, and it's going to be really hard to urinate. I mean, that's the thing about the pelvic floor, is it's the only major muscle group that is directly involved with major bodily functions, right? So here's your pelvic floor. The base of your pelvic floor are openings for your bladder, for your rectum, and for women, for your vagina. So normally there's good muscle tone there that will relax instantaneously so that you can let stuff out, and will relax so that you can let something inside of your body, like a penis, if you wanted to have sex and you're a woman. But if your muscles are super tight, it's going to be hard to start your urine stream. You're probably going to be dealing with some constipation, and certainly trying to have sex, if you've got vaginismus, which means tight muscles, is going to hurt like heck. On the other hand, when you orgasm, that creates wonderful muscle relaxation. And so, we don't want to reinforce pain. If it hurts like hell, don't do it. If there's a certain position you're doing that hurts, stop and try something else. This is not the time for wild athletic sex. This is the time for soft, gentle sex. You wouldn't try to run a marathon on a broken leg. Don't try to run a sexual marathon on a tender pelvis. And so you have to be willing to play with positions. You got to be willing to try different things. And in many cases, a lot of it is about trust. Sex, if once you've had pain with intimacy, you remember that. You remember that badly. And it's only natural to go, I don't know if I want to do that again. And I'm single, and I'll be really honest. I don't hook up. I've never been somebody like, I just don't do that because I've had issues for a long, long time. And when I meet somebody who I think is promising, I still don't hook up. I take time, and I have to ask myself, is that person worth potentially a week's worth of pain for my muscles freaking out, if my muscles were to freak out? And that's the great decision maker for me. Very few guys to me have been worth that risk. I hope that kind of makes sense. So anyway, and Maria says she doesn't have pain during sex. Okay, so if you don't have pain during sex, then you're gold, hun. Enjoy. If it hurts, stop. Try different things. Annie, let's get back to Annie here. So Annie says, thank you, Jill. Good tips. I'm 81 years old, have only had this for about 5 years. I can only remember one accident that happened when I was quite young, but I won't forget because I've never felt such pain. I fell against the bar of a boy's bike. I survived and never noticed any effects. So Annie, there was a study in the American Medical Association, the AMA journal, probably about 15 years ago, which talked about that injury. Only it talked about it in guys. And what they found is if a young boy jammed his crotch on the bar of his bicycle, that by the time he would be in his 30s, he would have a much greater risk of frequency urgency. Okay, why? Because of the damage that did to the muscles. And riding a bike in general is just so devastating for the pudendal nerve. It's just not something the human body was designed for. So Annie, so you're 81, your symptoms started when you were 76 years old. So the second thing that we would really want to look at for you then is the quality and health of your skin. Um, Unfortunately, the bladder, the urethra, the vulva, the vagina, and your mouth are all mucous membrane organs. They rely on a nice wet coating of mucus to protect the tissue. And unfortunately, that mucus production is estrogen dependent. So when you're young and you have lots of estrogen, you have lots of mucus. When you're older, you have much less estrogen and therefore much less mucus. So you are undoubtedly suffering from, at your age, estrogen atrophy, that we would also call the genitourinary syndrome of menopause. And so what that means then is, because you don't have as much protective coating in your bladder and in your urethra and on your vulva, that things that you might have used to enjoy, you cannot enjoy as much now. That daily cup of coffee you had in your 50s and 60s and even early 70s all of a sudden hurts you now. And that's just because your skin cannot defend itself like it used to be able to defend itself. And so if your vulva is dry and your vagina is dry, then so is your urethra and so is your bladder. Annie's asking me to hold up the book again. Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain by Dr. Jerome Weiss. So I think that I would want a doctor to look at the quality and health of your skin. And if you're and there are very clear signs of estrogen atrophy. You get your skin gets much thinner, and apparently there are lines that they can see. I know I've got them. I'm going to be, holy hell, 60 in 4 months. Like, how the hell did that happen? I started the IC Network when I was 33 years old. Crazy. It would be absolutely reasonable, if they do find estrogen atrophy, for you to be using an estrogen cream. My mom is 91. She has used an estrogen cream for 30 years. It's vital to her, and it's vital to me, because it will help your body produce some mucus and plump up those tissues. But the other thing, Annie, is you are the perfect situation where doing something that will have a coating effect that will cover up and protect that drier skin is a reasonable therapeutic priority. And the old therapy that used to do that is Elmeron, but now we know Elmeron can cause eye damage. So Elmeron's rapidly fallen out of favor. But there are some supplements that can have a coating effect, and these are generally supplements that contain chondroitin. So let me show you what we've got here. So the top, where's the last one? There it is. So the top supplements are Bladder Builder. And this has a lot of beneficial side effects. Maria says zinc. No, zinc won't do anything for the bladder. Bladder Rest, which is a very simplified formula, and it's getting even simpler because they're reformulating it again slightly to remove a couple of ingredients from China. This one is made entirely in the United States. So Bladder Builder, your goal. Cysto Protec has now been reformulated and is back in circulation. This was the top supplement for almost 20 years. Has a really solid bladder coating effect. Cysto Renew is kind of like Cysto Protec, but with a little bit of aloe in it for the soothing effect of the aloe. Of course, the challenge with aloe is quite a few people are aloe intolerant, and it gives them gut distress. And so there are a few people who simply cannot take aloe. And so Desert Harvest Aloe is a supplement that's been around for 25 years. And it just kind of calms and soothes the urethra and the bladder. But again, quite a few people are intolerant and have gut distress from aloe products. So again, if you're struggling with dryness, doing something that will provide a coating effect just absolutely makes sense. And let me just take a moment and thank our sponsor who makes these meetings happen, Pre-Leaf. If you haven't heard of Pre-Leaf, Pre-Leaf is the oldest supplement that I see patients have used. It's been around for about 30 years now. And it's an acid reducer. And so it's calcium glycerophosphate. Think of kind of like Tums. So if you're going to eat something that has the potential of being irritating to your bladder, you can do like grandma's lasagna or tomato sauce or pizza or even coffee or even wine, something like that. Or God forbid you try lemonade, which I think would be a terrible mistake. You could take a couple of Pre-Leafs before that, and it would help modulate and reduce the acid level. Okay. But I just want to give you two qualifiers. This is not candy. You do not take it all day, every day and eat it like candy because it is calcium. And if you eat too much calcium, you could end up with kidney stones. So you just do it before you eat, and it works brilliantly, very, very few side effects. And it's a viable option. What else was I going to say about this? There's one other thing I was going to say. It just went in and out of my brain. Bam! All right. Maria says, I started taking zinc and vitamin K last week, starting to experience a flare. I'm wondering if it could be the zinc. I bet there's vitamin C in there. I bet there's vitamin C in there, hon. Maria, go get the bottle. Let's look at the bottle. That's her question is, do you ever heal from pelvic floor dysfunction? Absolutely. The pelvic floor, guys, I had I have a really kind of unusual degree. I've got 3 college degrees. So I've got a degree in chemistry. That's a 2-year degree. I have a degree in drug development pharmacology, which is the really rarer. I got it at University of California. Then I have a master's degree in psychology. But what made my pharmacology degree all the more interesting is I did surgery for a year. It was a pre-med degree. It was a lot of surgeons and future doctors got that same degree. And so we did surgery for a year. We had long-time 8-hour labs. We worked with animals primarily. I go back in hindsight and go, God, Jill, if I could have just been working with people rather than animals, I'd probably still be doing it. But the animal research was just brutal and I couldn't do it. Well, this is what I learned doing surgery, is that muscles are incredibly responsive. And we could, as an example, make an incision that would be really, really small. And we could, with very gentle stroking, open up that incision to 2 to 3 inches without damaging anything. And so muscles respond beautifully to muscle work. It's when you ignore the muscles that you allow them to lock down into a tension pattern. I mean, think about it. Okay, here's my oh so tragic bicep because I haven't been lifting weights, right? When you pop a muscle, the muscle gets short, right? And hard. It would be hard to hold this more than 15 seconds. Now, you imagine trying to hold this for a day or 2 days or a week or a month or a year, and the damage that would do with these tight, compressed muscles to the blood vessels and nerves potentially. And so, restoring muscle health is everything. And when Dr. Chris Payne released his subtyping system, one of the things he said, he was furious that so many people were told that IC was an incurable bladder disease. He said that's not true. For many patients, it is curable. If their symptoms are IC subtype 3 or bladder pain syndrome subtype 3 pelvic floor, that is curable with the right work. And the question number 2 is, how do you know it's more bladder wall versus pelvic floor? Well, number 1, an examination. All they have to do is touch your muscles. If your muscles are tight like piano strings, girl, you got pelvic floor. Or there are very clear and distinct symptoms associated with the bladder versus the pelvic floor. Bladder wall pain, if you had a direct bladder wall injury, it's very sharp and shrill. It feels like glass, ground glass, or razor blades. You literally feel like you're being cut. And it's so freaking weird, like after my chemical burn, to know that I was feeling the inside of my bladder. You normally don't feel that. Somebody with a bladder wall injury, your day is controlled by urine volume. The more urine in your bladder, the worse it hurts. And I can explain that. So let's look at this picture, my handy dandy picture. So this is an example of a bladder that has been injured in some way. These are petechial hemorrhages, or what we call glomerulation. So this could have happened from drinking, way too much coffee. It could happen with ketamine exposure, chemotherapy exposure, or it could be the result of nerves that are super inflamed, releasing substance P, which is causing those wounds. So look, you've got all these wounds, right? Now imagine your bladder filling with urine. So it gets fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller, and urine is going into all these wounds. And it's like, ow, 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 ow. Oh my God, where's the bathroom? I gotta pee now, right? When your whole bladder's full, it's agony. It's like, oh my God, please, I need a bladder now. I need a bathroom now. And as soon as you pee, bam, urine is no longer touching the wounds and you feel better. Now, it might only last for 5 minutes, but there's a profound sense of relief. So if your pain gets worse as your bladder fills with urine and you feel better after you empty your bladder, that points us to your bladder wall. Okay, so remember, sharp and shrill, ground glass, razor blades. Pelvic floor pain is subtly different. You don't have the sharp and shrill, you have the achy, burny. So pelvic floor symptoms are duller, they're achier, and they have a burning quality to them because a muscle that's working hard is a muscle that builds up lactic acid. It burns, it hurts. Rather than having pain as your bladder's filling with urine, you tend to have pain after you're done peeing. But the hallmark symptom of tight muscles, aside from, dreading going to the gynecologist or having, trying to have sex and if that triggers pain, the hallmark symptom of tight muscles is that you just can't pee right away. Your muscles are so tight, your muscles are so freaking tight that they're not opening and relaxing to let urine out. And so it means you're sitting there standing there 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes before you can relax your muscles enough to empty urine out. That is the dominant symptom of pelvic floor muscle driven uh, symptoms. Okay. So, and the other thing about the pelvic floor patient is, again, muscle dysfunction can trigger the bladder wall to break down. So you could be pelvic floor primary, bladder wall secondary, which makes total sense. You could be diet sensitive if you've got muscle issues going on. That makes total sense. But you're not necessarily as attached to the bathroom. You're not, you know, you're not living and breathing by bathroom access as much as somebody with a direct bladder wall issue. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you guys missed our support group meeting on Sunday, we did finish our latest magazine, the IC Optimist, which is our IC Network magazine. My goal with these magazines is to make you, it's very rare that you're ever going to find a brag piece in our magazine. I don't talk about myself very much. I don't talk about awards that we've won or anything like that, only because it's not useful to you. I want you within 5 minutes of visiting our website or reading any of our materials to get something that's immediately useful to you, right? I don't want to waste your time. I want to give you directly useful information. And I think that that's what makes our magazine so unique, is it's written by IC patients for other IC patients with a lot of medical expertise and health expertise. So I thought what I would do, though, is I thought I would read some of the questions and answers from Dr. Jerome Weiss, the author of the book Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain. I asked to be able to spend some time with him a couple weeks ago and do an interview with him. He's not in the best of health. His wife, interestingly, his wife was a ballerina. And in one of these answers, we were talking about pelvic floor issues, and he shared that his wife tore her adductor muscle doing a split, and it has haunted her entire life. Betsa says, "What are you drinking, Jill Heidi Osborne? I'm curious to know. I am drinking rooibos tea, pumpkin spice rooibos tea. I am not, I have, because I'm muscle driven rather than bladder wall driven, although I do have some estrogen atrophy now, I can get away with Starbucks every now and then, but I'm just uncomfortable going to any coffee shop right now. I don't want anybody touching the glass I'm going to be holding, the cup. And I sure as hell don't want somebody putting the plastic top on top. The last time I went to Starbucks, which was like 2 weeks ago, the girls at Starbucks and the guys, they're wonderful. They put the plastic lid on the cup, and her finger was over the mouth hole. And I was just looking at it going, oh my God, did you see what you just did? You just put your finger right where my mouth would go. And so I actually didn't drink it. After I walked out, I threw the lid away and I just drank it like that. And I was just like, yeah, hell no, I'm not doing that anymore. Things have got to calm down. Hello, Diana. Nice to see you. And again, guys, I apologize. I have no freaking clue what's happening on Facebook right now. It's just blocking me from seeing everything. So let me just go through some of the question and answer that Dr. Weiss gave us. I mean, it was a really, really interesting conversation we had. What do dysfunctional muscles feel like during a pelvic examination? He said they are usually hard, tender, and spastic. You can actually feel bands of muscle fibers that are tight. When you touch those muscles and or related trigger points, patients often jump or twitch. These are hard, knotty bands of tight muscle fibers. Trigger points often refer pain to other areas. So if you were to touch a trigger point in that area, it might refer pain to your rectum, or to the tip of your penis, something like that. Hi, Sue. Nice to see you. In your experience, which muscles are the most often involved in chronic pelvic pain? Which muscles trigger urinary symptoms? His answer, it's a mixture. Sometimes one muscle will get tight, and then the surrounding muscles will also get tight. The levator ani muscles are often involved, but muscles around the anus, tailbone, urogenital diaphragm cannot be ignored. Remember, muscles don't exist in isolation either. They strongly influence other muscles as well. For patients struggling with urinary symptoms, the urogenital diaphragm and the urinary sphincter muscles can get very tight and trigger urinary symptoms. But honestly, it can be anywhere, but mainly around the anterior, the front side of your pelvis. Here's my question. This was so interesting after I read this book. As a support group leader, one thing that I distinctly remember is how most IC patients sat with one foot under one butt cheek to reduce pain. Is that a sign of muscle dysfunction? You know what I mean, guys? So like, how many of you, when you sit down on a foot, right? We used to joke about that. We used to joke about that in our support group meeting. I used to say, you can always tell an IC patient by how they sat, because most IC patients, at least in my groups, sat with one foot under their hip to try to reduce the pain. So my question to him was, is that a sign of muscle dysfunction? He said, that's a giveaway. And typical of pudendal neuralgia, muscles so tight they are compressing the pudendal nerves. Patients sit on their foot to lift off of that side to reduce pain. So how many of you do that? How many of you find when you sit down that you sit on one foot, or you tilt to the side when you're sitting on your couch? I often tilt onto my right side, which is a mistake. You got to stay grounded. We got to keep the pelvis, have equal pressure on the pelvis, right? Here, hold on a sec. Bessa says, one more question, please. What about walking? Is that worse when you have a trigger point in your pelvic floor? Well, let's try it. Okay. So let me take this off. So so let's think about a dog. Let's think about a dog wagging his tail. So when a dog is wagging his tail, his butt is up and he's doing this, right? And so a happy, correct position is kind of like this position, right? You're wagging your tail. When a dog is under stress, what do? They tuck their tail between their legs. And so what do? Bam, like this. Oh my God, you can see my fat. Okay, so I've now tucked my pelvic floor under. Now, what do you think how is that going to feel with me walking? Number one, the first thing I feel tension here. I feel a lot of tension. If I try to walk with my pelvic floor tucked under and tight, ooh, I immediately feel that right in my thighs. And so, it's going to be very hard for you to walk comfortably and normally if your pelvic floor muscles are super, super tight. I mean, again, think about your dog. Can a dog walk comfortably with his tail tucked between its legs? Probably not. Probably not. A dog is happy and perky with his butt up, wagging his tail. Danielle says, I thought I'd done it because I was short. I don't know. I don't understand that. Here, hold on. Let me get another drink. All right. Oh, wait. What am I running over? Oh. All right. Okay. I got to get myself back together from my impromptu demonstration, which showed you that I have a tummy. I didn't have that tummy last year. So annoying. Okay. Can you explain what happens to pelvic muscles after an injury, such as a fall on the tailbone? This is his answer. Injuries, sometimes long forgotten, are often the root of the problem. Imagine what happens when you fall on your tailbone or hip. The sudden impact compresses the muscle and proximal blood vessels and nerves, causing pain and bruising. While we would expect these tissues to heal normally, the missing link is often trigger points which develop in these muscles, lasting for days, weeks, months, or even years. These latent trigger points weaken the muscles because they compress blood vessels and reduce blood supply, also known as ischemia. If a patient experiences repetitive pelvic trauma, falls, sports, dancing, sexual abuse, having children, sitting for long periods of time, we see long term muscle dysfunction that will eventually activate trigger points, causing more intense pain and nerve dysfunction. At that point, the bladder, prostate, or vulva becomes symptomatic. It can be a very minor event, such as a period of stress that pushes the patient over the edge to severe bladder symptoms or chronic pain. Diana says here, in the last support group meeting, you mentioned that you have scoliosis. Could scoliosis trigger pain? Yes, it can. Because anytime somebody has chronic muscle tension, we always want to take a step back and look at bony structures. Is there a reason why the muscles are consistently tight? So if you have one leg longer than the other, that's going to tilt your pelvic floor. If you have scoliosis, your hips are not working together. Your hips can be slightly off balance. That also would create chronic muscle tension. And that muscle tension can certainly lead to pelvic pain. Okay, let's go back to his interview. If a patient has a history of athletics or dance, does that make them more at risk of pelvic floor dysfunction or bladder symptoms as they get older? His answer, yes. The toll of cumulative injuries, development of multiple latent trigger points that create foundation for eventual activation. My wife was a ballerina. She did a split and tore her adductor muscle, which has haunted her for life. Dancers and other athletes often overstretch muscles and overdo things. And boy, isn't that the truth. Lauren says, I always sit on one foot. I have for as long as I remember. Lauren, me too. Me too. I cannot remember not sitting on one foot until I started pelvic floor physical therapy, and they taught me how bad that is. Now I try to catch myself, and I will often sit Indian style rather than just on one foot. I will have both feet up Indian style, and I can do that. Okay, another question. Do muscles respond to treatment after many traumas? Here's his answer. I think so with the right type of therapy. Trigger points can be treated, but you have to look at the underlying muscle mechanics. This is so weird. Whoa, whoops, hold on. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. That was an accident. Hold on. I don't know. Do we need the light now? Maybe we need the light. It is getting darker outside. All right, we'll leave the light on. I wasn't sure if the sound was working. Is the sound working? Are you guys okay? Okay. So the question, do muscles respond to treatment after many traumas? I think so with the right type of therapy. Trigger points can be treated, but you have to look at the underlying mechanics of the body too. If the underlying anatomy isn't fixed, it will come back. That's why we also look at the bony structures connected to the pelvis. Does that patient have one leg longer than the other? Or perhaps hip, knee, or foot issues, which are constantly stressing the pelvic muscles? When these are also addressed, patients can improve dramatically, right? Do trigger points recur in the same location? Yes, they do. They can be completely eradicated, but if the biomechanics are off, you'll get them back in the same location. So Lauren here says, I danced from the ages of 12 to 14 before I had to quit because my patella was slipping in and out of place. This was presumed to be because of my weak thigh muscles and very tight hamstrings. Fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating, Lauren. Okay. This is interesting. I asked him, what care provider is responsible for trigger point treatment? His answer was fascinating. He said, it should be someone who has a lot of knowledge about physical therapy, and a lot of them don't have knowledge of the pelvic floor. A physical therapist or physiatrist would be ideal. A gynecologist would be the last person to do this. I thought that was fascinating. He did not believe that a gynecologist had enough muscle training to really do it well. There's been considerable discussion about the impact on the pelvis of having one leg shorter than the other. Why does this matter? He says, it comes back to biomechanics. If you just have one leg shorter than the other, two things happen. The feet are forced to compensate when you walk. Here, hold on. God, this light is ridiculous. Where is my controller? There it is. Is that my controller? Wrong controller. Hold on. Ah, here it is. This is a do-it-yourself operation, my friends. Well, that's as low as it's going to go. All right. Well, it is what it is. Okay. So again, the question is, there has been considerable discussion about the impact of having on the pelvis of having one leg shorter than the other. Why does this matter? He said, oh God, I've got a big light showing in my face. This is weird. Okay. It comes back to biomechanics. If you just have one leg shorter than the other, two things happen. The feet are forced to compensate when walking. The foot on the shorter leg will compensate with a higher arch, and the foot on the longer leg will have a flatter arch. Asymmetrical legs will create an unnatural angle in the pelvis that will directly impact the pelvic floor muscles and nerves. Interesting, right? All right. Here's my question. We are amazed at the number of IC patients who report foot injuries, foot dysfunction, overpronation, Morton's toe, Morton's neuroma, hammer toes, plantar fasciitis. What turned your perspective towards the feet? He says, I can't even remember when it started, but it was pretty early in my career. I think I went to a lecture or discussed this with Dr. Bert Schuler, who wrote the book on myofascial pain, and how he talked about the feet. Ultimately, the pelvis is directly influenced with every step that we take. And if we have dysfunctional feet, such as toes pointed outward, toes pointed inward, etc., the pelvis will also show signs of dysfunction. How many of your chronic pelvic pain patients have Morton's toe? He said, I found foot dysfunction and or Morton's toe in many, if not most, of my pelvic pain patients. Even more remarkably, when Morton's toe was treated with a simple, affordable toe pad, many found that their chronic muscle tension was relieved. That's just mind-blowing. Do y'all know what Morton's toe is? You understand why we're talking about that? So again, anytime we see long-term chronic muscle tension, we look at bony structures. And so we would look at the hips, we would look at the SI joint, we would look at the legs, we would look at the knees, and we would look at the feet. Because if your feet are messed up, when you walk, that's directly going to influence your pelvic floor. So it turns out there's a condition called, and Lupita, I'll get to your question in a moment. There's a condition called Morton's toe. And Morton's toe means that your second toe bone is longer than your big toe bone. So the way the human body is built is that the biggest bones are meant to carry the most weight. So obviously the biggest bones in your body are your hips, your hip bones, because that carries the weight of your torso. Well, the biggest bone in your foot is your big toe, right? And so if your feet were normal and you walk normally, your big toe is supposed to carry 66% of your weight distributed, and your second toe would carry the rest of it, 33%. That when you walk, you're not normally carrying weight on your little toes. Your weight is being carried by your big toe and your second toe. But it turns out that a lot of us are born with a skeletal defect. And I'm taking my shoes off right now because I want to kind of demonstrate it. We'll see if I can do it. See if I can contort myself. So everybody out there, take your freaking shoes off. Take your socks off. Let's see who's got Morton's toe. So in Morton's toe, okay, wait, hold on. Can I do this? Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Can you? Okay. I want you to look at my second toe. Do you see how my second toe is bent over a little bit? That's called a hammer toe. What that means is that toe is trying to grip the ground. That is a sign that all is not well in your feet, that the weight is not, this toe is not meant to grip. Your big toe is the toe that's meant to grip. So if you have a hammer toe, that's clue number one that something isn't right with your weight distribution. Now, if we were to look at it differently, I don't know if you can see, but that if my toe was stretched, they're about the same length. That's hard. My toes, basically, if I look down at them, they're the same length, my big toe and my second toe. However, if I bend my toes down, you will see that this knuckle is about a half an inch shorter than this knuckle. So the big bone right here is shorter than the big bone of my second toe. And it's the longest toe bone that hits the ground first. So if your second toe is longer than your first toe, and you can see it's longer, quarter inch, half an inch, whatever, okay, you absolutely have Morton's toe. If your toes are the same length, bend them down. You got to bend them down and look at the knuckles. And if the knuckle of the big toe is shorter than the knuckle of the second toe, you also have Morton's toe. And Morton's toe creates incredible dysfunction over time as you walk on it because you're not walking normally. So he has a section in here. I went right to it. Ever heard of Morton's toe? And so here is, let's see. So you can see here, if you look at this picture, the second toe is longer than the first toe. Or you can see here, this knuckle is shorter than this knuckle, which means that this bone is shorter than this bone. And that creates a terrible foundation of weight distribution because now your second toe is carrying 100% of the weight and your big toe is not able to support that load. Diana says, a Morton's toe is only in the second toe. I have what's described it, but in my fourth toe. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Diana. And so there's a whole section in here on, because myofascial pain is a major source of chronic pelvic pain, Dr. Weiss is presenting its causes and consequence in great detail. Therefore, I leave For general purposes, let's define myofascial pain as pain that is caused by dysfunctional muscles, including the pain that trigger points in these muscles can produce at locations away from the muscles themselves, also known as referred pain. I was well into my medical career before I finally got what patients had been trying to tell me for years, that a Morton's toe could indirectly cause chronic pain almost anywhere in the body, known as myofascial pain syndrome. If you have Morton's toe, your foot is not working properly. This is because Morton toes cause abnormal pronation, usually referred to as overpronation. Overpronation causes many muscles in the body to be stressed or injured, become dysfunctional themselves, and eventually develop active trigger points. Since trigger points can refer pain way outside where they're located, the amount of pain and suffering they can cause throughout the body is astounding. And he talks about this, that if you look at, I don't know if you can see this picture, if you're, well, anyway, you know what, you can just read the book. It's fascinating, but you can fix it with a toe pad. And so now I've been using toe pad in my regular shoe. And I can totally see now when I'm not walking with my toe pads that I'm walking differently. But if I'm walking with this little toe pad under my big toe, I'm walking normally. And so what Dr. Weiss found in these patients, these chronic pelvic pain patients, I mean, he's a master at getting rid of trigger points. He could get rid of trigger points. He could calm nerves down. What he didn't understand is why they kept coming back. Why is this patient flaring over and over and over again? And the last piece of that puzzle was studying that patient's feet. And what he found is that when they got the feet fixed, the pelvic floor dysfunction, the chronic muscle tension, and the pelvic pain disappeared. So in his clinic, now, he worked with pelvic pain patients for almost 50 years. His success rate is astonishingly good, better than anybody else in the country. And that was because he looked outside of the bladder to the muscles and other things which can influence the pelvic floor. And so this foot thing is very new. That's why I was so excited to have this book at the start of this year, because I just think it's a total game changer. And it's going to give you a lot more things to explore as you try to figure out why you continue to suffer with pelvic pain. All right, here, hold on. I'm putting my shoes back on. Okay, Lupita says, I was recently diagnosed with IC. My flares lasted for 2 months. I don't pee more than 10 times, slight pain, but don't know where to start. I'm afraid this will get worse and I'm afraid to eat. Well, Lupita, listen, if you're only peeing 10 times a day, that's pretty good. That's great. So if you've got bladder irritation, it's very mild. If you had severe bladder wall irritation, you'd be peeing 50 or 60 times a day. But what that also points to is that, your urinary function's fairly normal. If you're only going 10 times a day, I would really want to know what's going on with your muscles. I mean, if this were a flare from you drinking coffee or soda, man, you'd be peeing every 20 minutes. But you're not doing that. You're only, you're peeing maybe every 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So that kind of tells me that your bladder wall is actually pretty good, that it's more likely that you might be having a muscle flare. Now, listen, I don't want you to be afraid to eat. I don't want you to be, nobody needs to be afraid to eat. There's a ton of stuff you can eat with IC, and we've got the list on our website, a 3-column list of bladder friendly, try it, and caution. This is about, how do I want to say this? Creating an environment that will support healing. And so we don't want you to be drinking coffee or soda or cranberry juice or anything like that, or taking a multivitamin, which would hurt, anything at all like that. We need you to eat a simple, fresh, healthy diet. There's a ton of food you can eat. You can make homemade bread. You can eat bread. I prefer Ezekiel bread myself, which is a bread that's made from sprouts rather than grains. You can eat any meat you want. We just don't want you to do a spicy sauce or a steak sauce. You can do the vegetable aisle is your friend. The vast majority of vegetables will be fine for you. You shouldn't have to worry about vegetables at all, other than tomatoes. We don't want you to do tomatoes. The fruit aisle's a little bit tricky because fruits can be more acidic, so we want you to stay away from anything citrus or anything with vinegar right now until we figure it out a little bit more. So if you're going to do fruit, do do a Gala apple or Fuji apple, or do some blueberries or some blackberries, or do a honeydew melon or a cantaloupe melon. And it's just about finding the foods that your body thrives on right now until we can get to the bottom of what the hell's happening with this flare. Have you had a pelvic floor assessment? And more importantly, go back 2 months. Tell us what was happening 2 months ago. Did anything weird happen 2 months ago? I mean, what was 2 months ago? It was January. So it's January 24th, right around the time that it began. Anything weird happen? Did you take a long car ride? Did you fall? Oftentimes we can go back to an event. So what do you think triggered that flare, Lupita? I'd love to know. Lauren says, I also have one leg shorter than the other. I believe a lot of my pain is from muscles. I do have a moderate amount of spots, not lesions on my bladder, though. I'm not sure which came first. Well, remember, you have the somatovisceral reflex. If your muscles are screwed up, then all the nerves are screwed up, then that's going to cause a breakdown of the bladder wall. Or you can have vice versa. Doesn't really matter at this point in time. Lauren says, do you have any advice on how to keep maintaining the Morton's toe fixed while staying at home, since we usually don't wear shoes inside? Should I just wear my shoes? I wear shoes or flip-flops, and I wear Tiva flip-flops, so really cushy flip-flops. I just love my Hoka shoes. I wear them all day, every day at home. Although now if I go shopping, I'm going to take off my shoes in my garage and spray them with Lysol and leave them out overnight before I walk into the house with them. It is the times, my friends. It is the times. So Lupita, can you go back in time and what happened 2 months ago? Any ideas? It's 5:10 here, California time. I'm going to have to stop pretty soon and go make dinner for my folks. What are y'all making for dinner tonight? Or what did you have for dinner tonight that was bladder friendly? I'm thinking I got two options. Well, no, I think I'm going to do a chicken broccoli pasta. I got the chicken. I got the broccoli. I've got egg noodles for my parent. My dad cannot eat regular pasta. It gets stuck in his throat, so it has to be egg noodles. Then I make separate pasta for me. Oh, Lauren said, I bought some Hokas after one of your videos recently, and I love them. Which one did you get, Lauren? Did you get the Bondi 6s like I have? Or the Rahi 2s? Hoka One One are these shoes. These are now the preferred shoes for distance runners and doctors. Anybody who has to go for a long period of time. So these are Hokas. And you can see they have a really thick cushion. They're just a dream. I can walk forever in these. I used to love my Birkenstocks. And I miss them. And so I tried to do a variation of a Birkenstock last fall, and oh my God, I wore these shoes for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It just destroyed my feet. I got to have a lot of cushioning under my feet. Oh, good. You got the Bondi 6s. Which color did you get? Lauren says she had tacos and steamed asparagus. Last night I did chicken fried rice with asparagus and zucchini and a bunch of other stuff. Danielle says it's midnight here in Ireland, so you're in bed. Hope everything. Danielle, I love watching. My favorite Twitter feed right now are Ireland sheep farmers, especially Zwart Bowls. Zwart Bowls Ireland, ZWARTBLES, Zwart Bowls Ireland, and then H, who follows the animals on her property, specifically the hares, And you've got an amazing wildlife photographer on Twitter. And I actually have his pictures of owls on my computers as my screen. Ireland does Twitter incredibly. It's so peaceful and wonderful. I just want to go to Ireland and stay there for a while. Let's see if I can, just out of curiosity. I'm going to try not to watch the news tonight. Susanna Crampton. And she's a wonderful sheep farmer, although they lost one of their lambs because the mom laid on it. She gives the good and bad of being a farmer, but she's got these amazing tours of her property, of just walking out, with all the animals. And she's got a lot of dogs and cats, but it's just a wonderful, wonderful way, wonderful thing. By the way, hey man, if you need something funny, Betsa said she had ground turkey, acorn squash, mixed veggies. Ooh, that sounds good. I love ground turkey and I love acorn squash. This was hysterical. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a priest who tried to live stream his meeting, but he had the funny, look at that. He had the funny things on. So it keeps changing what's on his face. The sunglasses and the hat. I would love to come to Norway too. I've got family there right now. I have a lot of family in Norway and Sweden. Proud to be Norwegian and Swedish. I am 95% Scandinavian. Oh my God. I just hit my chair. Hold on. Hey, I only did it once today. Hold on. Wait, is that work? Okay. Oh my God. Hey man, it's not a support group meeting if I don't do something goofy. Alrighty. Diana has the Hoka Bundys. Nice. Okay, I don't think I got my chair all the way up like I should have. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's 5:15 now. I got to go take care of my parents. It is my honor to be your support group leader, and I hope that I gave you a little bit of helpful information today. I will be back again. My intention is to do these very regularly, while we're all going through this. Please, please, please. I always give you homework, and I expect you to do your homework because we're all adults now. We understand how important it is to do stuff. So number one, 15 minutes a day, I need you to do something to give you comfort, whatever that is. Comfort for your spirit and your soul. So whether it's watching wonderful Susanna Crampton lamb videos, which is what I do, or going to church or whatever, do something that will give you comfort. The second thing I need you to do is I need you to do something for your bladder and your pelvis. See, look at this. Come on now. Hold on a second. Okay, now I'm back up. Oh my God. Okay. I need you to do something for your bladder, your pelvic floor. Do what I did. Get on your freaking back in your living room and do your exercises. For God's sake, do it. If you got to use a wand, do it tonight before you go to bed, while you're laying in bed. Do what you need to do to help your body. Number three, I need you to do something to do work on your knowledge level. You all have this wonderful book that's free, Breaking Through Chronic Pelvic Pain. I double dog dare you to read a chapter a night. Come on, what else you got to do? We're all in home quarantine. Build your knowledge. This is not the time to sit and, I don't know, play. I mean, you got to play. I understand that. This is a great opportunity to do new things, weirdly. Number four, I need you to do something that will make you laugh, because your brain will modulate pain when it's accompanied by laughter. It will reduce that pain. And so this is not the time to be watching scary news. For God's sake, don't do it. It's out of our control. You have to focus on what you can control. You can control right now being in your home and being safe. That is the best thing for you to do right now. And so I want you to listen. This is an unimaginable situation. And it would be so nice if we had somebody every night who could give us comfort. Go back to Kennedy or Ronald Reagan. We don't have that right now. And that makes it extra, extra hard. But you all need to know that the doctors and the nurses and the police officers and the people stocking the grocery stores are heroes. Guess what? It turns out that the most important people in the United States are not the 1%, because they're all hiding away on their ranches wherever they are. The most important people are the people who help other people. And that is the doctors and the nurses who are risking their lives right now to care for people. And so if you can, please say a prayer for them. If you can, please do something that will lift them. My best friend is in medicine. She's a big manager over at Kaiser, and she's single. And she's working there every day, greeting patients, taking their temperatures. And the stress on her is unbelievable. And so if there is anything you can do to give a warm hug, support, kindness, compassion, and seriously, there are people out there right now conning other people. I was listening to a video last night of a lady who was at CVS, and a lady in the next aisle was an elderly lady who had one thing of toilet tissue and one thing of paper towels, and another woman came up and stole it out of her cart. Stunning. And this lady, and she you can find her on Twitter. She said, if you don't put that back right now, I'm going to beat you up. And she did. And you know what? That lady deserved it. I don't believe in physical violence, but seriously, let's protect the other people around us. If you see somebody who's in need, try to help them in some way. The elderly patients in your neighborhood, the disabled people in your neighborhood, just be there for them, be kind to them, be generous to them, make sure that they have what they need. And let's make sure that the really important people in this country are the people that are protected. And most importantly, if anybody says it's safe for you to go out and they don't have a medical degree, do not believe them. We're going to be in this for the long haul. You got to protect yourself for weeks, if not months. And this means we're all going to pull back and make good decisions, try to make sure we don't infect other people, and we reduce our risk of infection. I haven't been to the store in 10 days. I will not have to go to the store again, maybe until next week, when I have to get some dairy products and some fresh veg for my folks. And in the meantime, guys, I am making these. I am making masks in my spare time, and I'll be either giving them away or putting them on. Right now I have them out for my UPS drivers. They can take them. I've got gloves that they can take. Listen, 10 minutes. That's all it takes to make these, is 10 minutes. If you got a sewing machine, leftover quilting fabric, a little bit. This is elastic, 1/2-inch elastic that I cut in half. You can do that. Let's start making these and passing these out, okay? To your neighbors, your friends, family members, whatever. Let's just be kind to each other. We're back in World War II, and we're going to show this world that we are not obsessed with the internet. We're not obsessed with appearances. None of that matters. What matters is surviving and helping others. So let's do it together, okay? When I have more of these, I'll let you guys know, and I might be able to just send people them, no charge or whatever, for a buck. I'm not making these for a profit in any way. I'm just gonna send them off to my friends and my family members and anybody that is in need, okay? Be well. Big giant hug. Love you, love you, love you. You are not alone. We are in this together. All right, see you later. Okay, now, let's see. Facebook? At least I know how to turn this off. Goodbye, Facebook. All right, my friends on YouTube. I will see you later. Have a good one.